One, and I call this May 25, 2021 virtual administrative meeting of the Bernalillo County Commissioners to order. We will have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner O'Malley.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Malley. Madam County Manager, are there any changes or additions to the agenda?
Madam Chair and Commissioners, yes, there are. So the first one is item 3A, acknowledgement of Adan Cariaga to be added to the agenda item as 4A under proclamations. The second one is item 3B, acknowledgement of Max Ramirez to be added to the agenda as item 4B under proclamations. And then lastly is item 9B, IRB notice of intent of, let's see, Clenera LLC be deferred to the June 15th, 2021 admin meeting. So we just need a little bit more time on that, Madam Chair. And a vote is required for these changes. Thank you.
Okay, so I move to approve those changes. Is there a second? Okay, Commissioner O'Malley got in there first. All in favor, raise your hand, and then we'll have a roll call vote. And Madam Clerk and others, for the record, Vice Chair Casada did let me know that he will be late for this meeting. So, Madam Clerk, please proceed with the roll call vote.
Commissioner Barboa. Commissioner Benson.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley. Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye.
So called.
Thank you. That is unanimous. So moving on to proclamations. For a acknowledgement of Adan Cariaga, and this is sponsored by Commissioners O'Malley and Barboa.
Madam Chair, on the seat, yeah, okay. Thought I was on mute for a minute. I'm going to, Commissioner Barboa is going to read the proclamation. We both actually know Adan. I've known him for many years, and she has two. So since I had two proclamations today, she's going to read it. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner Barboa.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Commissioner O'Malley. We were both sort of thinking of the same thing, and she had gotten in the agenda. So thank you for allowing me to read this. I'm honored to present this acknowledgement of Adan Cariaga. I also have Mr. Art Romero and Jeannie Romero, who will be saying a few words after the acknowledgement with your permission, Chair. But I'll proceed to reading the acknowledgement. Acknowledgement: the Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners does hereby acknowledge Adan Cariaga. Acknowledging Adan Cariaga was born and raised in Albuquerque, growing up in the Sawmill and Wells Park neighborhoods as the youngest of 5 children. And acknowledging Mr. Cariaga was a star basketball player at Albuquerque High, my alma mater, graduating in 1975, attending New Mexico Military Institute and McPherson College in Kansas. And acknowledging Adan Cariaga as the community leader that lifted his experience as a person in recovery from the disease of alcohol and drug addiction, dedicating his time to helping others find recovery and appreciation for his own. And acknowledging Mr. Cariaga was one of the first licensed alcohol and drug abuse counselors in New Mexico who helped so many find and maintain their recovery. And acknowledging Mr. Adan Cariaga was a dedicated community organizer, activist, counselor, artist, father, husband, and friend who helped others whenever and wherever he could. And acknowledging in 2015, Adan Cariaga established Albuquerque Celebrates Recovery, an event to spread information and hope and attracting more than 1,500 participants each year. and acknowledging Mr. Cariaga served as a member of the Bernalillo County Detention Facility Oversight Board from January 2017 until May 2019, lending his knowledge and experience in the betterment of the Metropolitan Detention Center. And acknowledging Adan Cariaga was a world-renowned master santero, beginning his craft at the age of 9 and creating a lifetime of art that encompassed his life, soul, and love for his home, family, friends, and all of Bernalillo County. Now, therefore, it be resolved that Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners celebrates the accomplishments and honors the life of native son Adan Cariaga upon his passing April 30th, 2021. Done this 25th day of May 2021 in Bernalillo County, state of New Mexico, presented on this day. Thank you so much. Again, I want to mostly give some time to Mr. Art Romero to speak, but I'm just honored to be able to present this. We lost a great leader in our community, someone who's been working in what we've been needing for a really long time, and the legacy continues. Thank you, Mr. Romero, if you don't mind. Chair.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair, other members of the board. I want to say that I really appreciate giving me this opportunity to talk about my dear friend. He was my best friend. He was a colleague. And Adan Cariaga, I want to say this before I say anything, because I remember the first time we met 35 years ago. We met in a recovery support meeting, and I was already a counselor at that time. And the first thing that I really liked about Adan was his name. I just love that name. Don't you just love that name? Adan Cariaga. What a beautiful name, you know. And but him and I became close friends pretty quick. We had a lot of the same compassion, and we had a lot of the same interests. We could talk for hours, and we did. We traveled a lot together for different conferences, different things that we did throughout the years. So we spend a lot of time talking about a lot of things. But the one thing that I think that I really appreciated about Adan is that not only did he love New Mexico, but he knew the history of New Mexico, right down to, you know, the battles, wherever they were over New Mexico, you know, down to, you know, he knew all of you, you know, he always knew who the commissioners were, who the city councilors were, who the representatives were. You know, he really, when it came to New Mexico, he was all about New Mexico, knew everything in and out. And the thing about Adan was that he was so generous, loving. He was just a friendly soul, you know, and he always had time for anyone. He didn't care. He didn't care if you were from Yale or jail. He had time for you. You know, I don't know how many times, you know, we're at lunch and then we got to get back to work, and he's standing there talking to some guy out in the, you know, on the street that he just didn't want to, you know, ignore him. So he would give him time to talk, right? That was Adan. I just want to mention a couple things about his work. I love the way that Commissioner Barboa talked about his artwork, being a santero. But he really made a big difference in our community all over the state in terms of his work in mental health and substance abuse. He and I, back when Healthcare for the Homeless first started, back in the 80s, we did a lot of work out on the streets, and Adan always knew just where to go. You know, he knew where all the addicts were hanging out. He knew where you know, mentally ill people were hanging out, or, you know, the alcoholics were, and he always knew where to go. We would even go, he even knew where all the shooting galleries were. And by that, I mean, you know, where people would shoot up their heroin. or whatever drugs, abandoned buildings and places like that. The camps, we would go on the camps, back when we had camps on the river, and he just had a way with people. And our goal at that point was to get people to the clinic, and he did such a good work. We had to start, scheduling, we had to trying to put like a waiting list or whatever, because we had so many people coming to the clinic. And as we know, from that grew all the other organizations that started working with the homeless. Another thing, maybe you might not know about him, is that Adhan was on the first substance abuse board for the License for Alcohol and Drug Abuse Counselors. He and others were involved with getting that bill passed, and that's why we have counselors that are licensed now. I just think it's important to recognize that. And although his mother was killed by a drunk driver, and she was killed when he was pretty young, he was like 9 or 10 years old. What he did with his grief throughout his life since then is he turned that grief into compassion to help people get clean and sober. That's where he spent endless hours with addicts and alcoholics. And I mean endless hours on his own time, whether it was on the telephone or it was, meeting with them for coffee or just talking on the corner. So I want to thank you for doing this proclamation. I am so, so touched because I miss my friend. I can't tell you how valuable he was to New Mexico. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Romero. Commissioner Barboa, did you have more, or should we go to Commissioner O'Malley?
I just wanted to, I got a chance to speak with Mr. Romero and his wife, Jeannie, who have also been doing this work. And I think it is so important for us to remember like how important it is to look back at our history as we plan for our future, that we know we need to, that this continued addiction and alcoholism in our communities is a major root to what we try and face when we're talking about crime in our city and in our county. And I believe that the heart and passion of folks like Mr. Garriaga and Mr. Romero that are working from the heart and from their lived experience to relate, I just want to really lift and honor that. Thank you, Mr. Romero, for your kind and beautiful words today, and for lighting a path for our families to recovery and that are suffering from the disease of addiction. And just thank you. And thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioner O'Malley, for bringing this forward as well.
You're welcome. I spoke for both my wife and I for respect for your time, because I know you all have an agenda that you have to get done. So thank you again.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Romero. That really was a very beautiful tribute, and I learned some things about Mr. Carriaga. So thank you so much, and thank you, Commissioner Barboa, for adding that other piece in. Commissioner O'Malley.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I hope, I guess, is it okay? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, it's a little
Things are okay.
fuzzy, weird sounding, but we can hear you.
Okay, I may need to switch to my iPad in a little while here. But I also wanted to, I've known for many years, and I know of his work, and just very appreciative of what he gave himself to his community. I'm also, I'm the recipient of his retablos, which I really treasure. His grandmother and my grandmother were neighbors in the old the sawmill area. So anyway, thank you, Commissioner Barbaro, for what you had to say about he will be remembered for the work that he's done, and was very much appreciated. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers for this proclamation? No? Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. So we will move on. Commissioner O'Malley, acknowledgement of Max Ramirez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have an acknowledgement from my friend who recently passed, a dear friend of mine, Max Ramirez Jr. He was a mentor to me. He was the one who actually was speaking the first meeting I'd gone to in a neighborhood setting. I'd gotten a flyer on my doorstep talking about what we needed to work in the neighborhood. And so I met him then, and I was by what he had to say, and met with him afterwards, and the rest is history. I became very involved in the neighborhood association, and from there we worked together for side by side for years. He's always very supportive of what me and others, and you will always remain very dear to me and very dear to my heart. So it's acknowledgement. The Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners does hereby acknowledge Max Ramirez Jr. Acknowledging Max Ramirez Jr. was born and raised in what was known as Old Albuquerque and proudly served in the United States Army in the Korean War, and acknowledging that Max Ramirez was a passionate community activist in the Sawmill neighborhood and a founding member of the Sawmill Advisory Council, a community advocacy group, and acknowledging Mr. Ramirez's commitment to improving the health and welfare of his family and community by organizing his neighborhood in protest against the continued toxic pollution caused by particle board manufacturers, Ponderosa products in the Sawmill neighborhood, and acknowledging the culmination of Mr. Ramirez's and community efforts that led to the closure and the 2007 demolition of the Ponderosa products plant, and acknowledging that the remnants of the industrial area next to the Sawmill neighborhood were eventually replaced with affordable housing, community gardens, playgrounds, and a plaza developed by the Sawmill Community Land Trust, of which Max also a founding member. And acknowledging that the role in violation of the Sawmill District, which has made way for millions of dollars in private investment, and acknowledging that Mr. Ramirez's service to county and country and community was accompanied by a rich family and personal life. A lifelong member of the San Felipe Parish, he and his wife Frida raised 5 children in the house Max grew up in and lived to enjoy 18 grandchildren and 34 great-grandchildren. A retired house painter and avid golfer, Max was friend to many, and he will always be remembered for his fight for environmental justice for his neighborhood. Now therefore be it resolved that the Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners celebrates the accomplishments and honors the life of Max Ramirez Jr. upon his passing May 17, 2021. Done this 25th day of May 21 in Bernalillo County, state of New Mexico, presented this day, May 25th, 2021, all signed by all the Board of Commissioners. And today, with us today is his daughter, Pauline Baca. You may have some siblings. Something happened. And Pauline is here to say.
Okay, Pauline, if you'd like to unmute yourself and say a bit about Max Ramirez, we'd love to hear from you.
My name is Pauline Baca, and I am the youngest of 5 children. He had 5 children. The oldest was Maria Hines, Juanita Ramirez, Ruben Ramirez, Stevie Ramirez, and Pauline Baca. My dad loved his family dearly. He loved his community. He was in a huge battle over Ponderosa products with Debbie O'Malley and Commissioner O'Malley, and it took many years. It took 25 years to finally bring that company down, and that was a huge success. I remember the day. I mean, we were all so emotional, crying because we never thought that day would come, but my dad was sure that we would see that happen, and it did. And I would just like to thank all the Board of Commissioners, Commissioner O'Malley, for this day of proclamation for my dad. My sister's here, Juanita. Maybe she'd like to say a few words.
I would just like to thank everybody for this moment, and I know my dad is probably ecstatic up there, but you know, he shook and moved this area like nobody could. And I agree with what Consuelo said, the lion is laid to rest now, because he really did move this community in a way that nobody could. And thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
One of our neighbors at his memorial service said that my dad was like the lion of this community, and he was roaring constantly, and now we had laid him to rest. So thank you so much for all this.
Thank you.
Thank you,
And
Madam Chair. Thank you, Pauline. Thank you, Monica.
Thank you. And so moving on to public comment. Julianne, is anybody signed up for public comment?
So we received one written comment from Geraldine Amato, and nobody signed up to provide live public comment.
Okay, thank you. And that written public comment will be in the minutes in our packet. So that'll be available. And so then moving on, 5A, Community Services, Bernalillo County Extension Services, Enrico Gradi to introduce speakers and present.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. I believe we have a presentation, the Bernalillo County Extension Office this afternoon regarding something we do periodically. And I wanted to go ahead and let them get out of their way and let them provide a presentation and introduction. Thank you.
Good evening. Should I go ahead and pull the presentation up?
Please.
Or yes.
Yes.
I wasn't sure if you guys were pulling it up or if I needed to have it. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. So like I said, my name is Anissa Patterson. I work with Bernalillo County Extension. We are employees of NMSU, but we serve the county. My position is actually funded partially by county funds, so I'd like to thank you for that. And I'm just going to talk for a few minutes about particularly what we do. And my specific role is to support Albuquerque area school gardens. And so while our office supports agriculture for the county, all kinds of different types of agriculture, from farmers, small farmers, to the Master Gardeners program. Our office also does 4-H programs and things like food preservation and home economics. But my particular role in our office is to support school gardens. And you may not know, but there are 90 school gardens in APS schools. And so I work alongside APS staff to provide these school gardens whatever they need to thrive. And a lot of times that's training for teachers. There's a lot of interest in curriculum. How do we teach, how do we use school gardens to support curricular activities? How do we teach math in the garden or writing in the garden? Growing practices. In our office, we teach a lot about how do you grow in the desert Southwest where we get 9 inches of rain a year when the national average is 40. So we work a lot with how do we grow vegetables here? And then one of my jobs I really like is I provide free seeds to schools and any other community garden or anybody who needs seeds. So it's an interesting question I thought about when I was putting up this presentation was, you might want to ask, did school gardens continue during COVID times? And I would have to say, yes, we were really busy. And it was really interesting because although the children weren't at the schools, a lot of teachers were still going to the school garden and teaching from the school garden remotely, getting on Zoom and showing what was growing in the garden, or having young people grow things at home and paper cups. And so there was a lot of teacher support this year that I was able to provide with colleagues. And that was really fun. We actually just recently had a school garden conference all on Zoom. And we had over 200 participants in that, helping teachers really think about how do you do school gardening in this time. The other thing that we did is we did a lot of seed distribution at county grab and go events, at APS grab and go events. Bucket Brigade, which is these buckets, these home gardens would go home from schools. These, you can grow tomatoes in a bucket, and we would provide the seeds and information, like, a little handout on how to grow, and then the schools would get buckets out to families. So there's a lot of creative ways that gardening continued, and I was really pleased to see that. Let's see. And like I said, we just did a school garden conference. It was really well attended. And finally, what I'd like to say about my role this year is that I actually have a master's in public health, and that came in really handy. But I did a lot of training and education with schools on how being outside right now in the time of COVID, when younger children are not vaccinated yet, our teenagers are just beginning to get vaccinated, but being outside is actually a very safe place to be versus indoors. And so I've done a lot of work. My public health degree came in handy here to help schools understand that actually, if you're going to be in class right now, go outside, because COVID is not as catchy outside. So that's been really nice to bring that in. So I want you to know there's lots of school gardens. I want you to know they're being used for academic purposes, and it's a really growing movement here. And I also think the other piece we're folding in is this whole idea that New Mexico has a long and strong agricultural history. And it's really nice to hear you honoring some of our elders in our community at the beginning of this. And we have many elders in our community who have agricultural traditions, and bringing them into the schools and bringing their knowledge into our work is really important to me too, so that we can keep New Mexico's agricultural traditions alive for our young people. I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Sarah, who's going to talk about her work.
Thank you. Thanks, Nisa, and thank you all for inviting us and for let us showcase what we do for the community and with the community as well. So definitely the last 2 years have been very challenging for our programs, but it gave us an opportunity to actually show and demonstrate what we are capable of. My name is Sara Moran. Sorry, I didn't introduce myself. My name is Sara Moran, and I am the Extension Horticulture Agent for the county. So I work a lot with urban horticulture, with trees, vegetable garden, shrubs. We help with plant identification, with insect identifications, with disease on plants as well. So we are a little bit of doctors, but for plants, so to speak. So Nisa, if we can go to the next slide. Thanks. Yeah, so it was a very challenging year. It gave us, however, like I say, the opportunity to do things a little different, and which was great. So we were able to put together a series of gardening webinars to educate the public about their garden, how important garden is, especially now that we still have to be a little cautious and stay indoor and stay at our houses. So gardens are definitely a great way to do different activities with the family and have that contact with nature. So we partner with Presbyterian Community Health and Healthcare Foundation, and we were able to put together 20 virtual classes. This is something that it's still going. We still have planned classes for the spring and summer. And we had about 1,000 participants for the webinars. We also, if we move to the next slide, NMSU also created a garden webinar series called Ready, Set, Grow. And we partner with NMSU specialists also with other counties such as Mora and Valencia County. And we put together as well different gardening webinars from topics that we pick from the public, like what was important, what was relevant for them, what they want to know. So we were able to do about 12 virtual classes. This series is still planned to go until October, probably this year. And we had a great participation, mostly from Bernalillo County, but we also are able to reach the entire New Mexico state, as well as other neighbor states, Texas, Colorado, and a little far away, such as California too. But we got very nice comments from people in our county that decided to attend these webinars. All those webinars are recorded and available, so people can access 24/7. And if they have any question, our information is there and they can reach us via email or by phone as well. Great participation, as you can see, more than 2,000 attendees for these webinars. And last but not least, we also provide gardening assistance. We did about 100 site visits. This is pretty much going to people's house and take a look at their trees or their plants, their vegetables as well, see what's going on, and provide some recommendations. We did a few in-person visits following all COVID-safe practices, wearing a mask, practicing social distance, and keeping the participants in the site visit at its minimum, probably not more than 2 or 3, including myself. So, however, some people, they prefer the virtual mode. So we were also able to offer that option to them. So this pretty much saved residents about $7,000 if we do, if we would charge $75 per visit. However, this service is free for the residents. We also received about 120 plant and insect samples that we normally submit to NMSU Plant Diagnostic Clinic in Las Cruces. So from the time that they drop the sample or that we collect the sample, we prepare the sample and we ship to Las Cruces. And if we would charge, again, this is a free service, but if we would charge about $30 per sample, then residents saved about $3,000. So it's a very great, personally, I think it's a great service because allow us to actually give proper recommendations, which also minimize chemical inputs into the environment. We have the opportunity to educate the people as well, and saves them not only the money that they put into sending the sample, but also the money, the time that they would have put if they decide to do some other treatment. So this is, in a very tiny nutshell, what we have been done and continue to do, especially in the spring and summer, which are our busiest season. And we are open to questions if you have any questions at the moment.
Thank you so much. Could you put it back to the screen with everybody on it so I could see if anybody has a hand raised or anything? Okay. I don't see any questions. Thank you so much for this presentation. And I want to say I hugely love the idea of school gardens. I think that's amazing that you have really been active in that and that there's been so many school gardens. And I also want to mention that last year when we were doing the grab and go lunches at Vista Grande Community Center, they were handing out little tomato plants, and I picked up one of these tomato plants, and it was really the tomato plant that could, like, that poor thing. It looked so mangy at the beginning, but with a little water and a lot of love, that little thing just started producing these really beautiful tomatoes. So I enjoyed that very much, and I'm grateful for all you do. I know the gardening webinars have been a big success. I was like retweeting those on my social media to get people interested in those. So that's amazing. I love your work. So thank you so much, and thank you, Enrico, for bringing this to us today.
Thank you. Thank
Very
you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for your support of our work.
Yes, thank you so
Absolutely.
much. Appreciate it.
Okay, so on that note, let's move on to approval of minutes. I will move to approve the May 11, 2021 administrative meeting minutes. Do I have a second? Thank you, Commissioner Benson. If you're all in favor, raise your hand. I see that. Thank you. I see our Vice Chair, Commissioner Casada, is here. So go ahead, Madam Clerk, and call the roll.
Commissioner Barboa,
Aye.
Commissioner Benson,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley,
Aye.
Vice Chair Casada,
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Hi.
So called.
Thank you. And Madam Clerk, do not mute yourself. You're up again. Madam Clerk, please provide resolution numbers for items 7A, 7C, 7D, and 7E of our consent agenda. Also, ordinance number for 7I.
H. All righty.
You're right.
A1 FR 2021-53. C is AR 2021-54. D is AR 2021-55. E1 is FR 2021-56. H is ordinance number 2021-11.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. So I will move to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second? Thank you, Vice Chair Casada. All in favor, raise your hand. And Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Barboa,
Aye.
Commissioner Benson,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley,
Aye.
Vice Chair Casada,
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye. And before we
Okay.
move on, I'm going to ask Commissioner Barboa if she'd like to say a little something about her appointment.
Thank you for, yes, Judith Binder is, has been in service and is recommitting to being an alternate on the valuation protest board. So just, again, thank you for her service and her commitment to be in service to the county, and that very important role that not everybody wants to be a part of. So thankful for that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Barboa. And so moving on to adoption of ordinance amendment to county code. 8A, notice of intent to adopt an ordinance under the Local Economic Development Act, LEDA, relating to NM Compounding and Infusion Pharmacy, LLC. So Mei-Ling or Marcos, would you please present on this?
Good evening, Madam Chairwoman, members of the Commission. The Economic Development staff recommends the approval of the notice of intent to adopt an ordinance authorizing the Bernalillo County Commission to approve a local economic development grant for New Mexico Compounding and Infusion Pharmacy. The LEDA is in the amount of $150,000. The funds are being granted by the state, and Commissioner Benson is the sponsor. I'll stand for any questions.
Okay, any questions? I don't see any. And so is there a motion to approve publication of this notice of intent to adopt an ordinance approving a LEDA for a project for NM Compounding and Infusion Pharmacy? of course, Commissioner Benson moves. Is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Barboa. All in favor, raise your hand. And Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Barboa,
Aye.
Commissioner Benson,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley,
Aye.
Vice Chair Casada,
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye. Thank you. That passes unanimously. Moving on to 8B. Notice of intent to adopt an ordinance under the Local Economic Development Act, LEDA, related to American Gypsum LLC. Mei Ling or Marcos, please present.
Madam Chair. Madam Chairwoman, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Commissioner O'Malley,
did
would you like
we-
to present?
Did we approve the consent agenda? Did I miss something?
Yes, we approved
We
it.
did. Okay, did miss something. Okay,
You
Linda,
voted.
great.
I
I'm
think
going
we-
down that path. Sorry.
No, thank you. Thank you for double checking.
Okay.
Do you want to present? I know you're sponsoring the American Gypsum, or do you want Mei
it's-
Ling to go ahead?
Yeah, she can go ahead. It's really passed through from the state, so.
Okay. Go ahead, Mei Ling.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Members of the Commission, the Economic Development Staff recommends the approval of the notice of intent to adopt an ordinance authorizing Bernalillo County to approve a local economic development grant for American Gypsum Company LLC. The grant is in the amount of $500,000. Like Commissioner O'Malley stated, it is from the state LEDA funds. And I will stand for any questions.
Are there any questions? I see none. So is there a motion to approve publication of notice of intent to adopt an ordinance approving a LEDA project for American Gypsum LLC?
Madam Chair, I move approval.
Okay, is there a second? Commissioner Benson, thank you. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. And Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Barboa,
Aye.
Commissioner Benson,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley,
Aye.
Vice Chair Casada,
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye. So
No
that
problem.
passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to number 9, adoption of resolution. Madam Clerk, please issue a resolution number for the following, I think just this item. I think it's 9A, 9C, 1 and 2.
All righty. 9A is FR 2021-57. 9C1 is FR 2021-58. Number 2 is FR 2021-59.
Okay, and do you want to keep going? I see we have D and E.
Sure. D2 is AR 2021-60. E3 is FR 2021-61. F3 is FR 2021-62.
Boy, there's a lot of them tonight. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. And so 9A, the Emergency Rental Assistance Part 2. And Mei Ling or Marcos, please present.
Madam Chairwoman, members of the Commission, the Economic Development Staff recommends approval of the financial resolution to accept an allocation in the amount of $10,297,747 for the Emergency Rental Assistance 2 program. This approval would also authorize the county manager to execute a grant agreement or any related subsequent amendments. I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions? Commissioner O'Malley?
Thank you. Madam Chair, I was reading in the resolution at the beginning that the allocation for the county of Bernalillo, as you mentioned, was 10 million. And it was listed as only allocated to the unincorporated areas and tribal lands. And I'm concerned about that. I think that while the city did get an allocation for within the city of Albuquerque, this allocation is just, basically what would happen is there would be 4 times as much competition within the city of Albuquerque than the unincorporated areas. The unincorporated area is about 118,000. Of course, the city is about 560,000 folks. I think that there should be an opportunity for us to have a look at this, and so that we could get an allocation for our districts, which are mine is, my district is predominantly, I would say, within the city of Albuquerque. I know that, for example, Commissioner Barbosa is entirely within the city of Albuquerque, where we have a mix. But I would like us to relook at that allocation.
County Manager Julie.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioner O'Malley. Just wanted to let you know that, yes, of course, we will look at that. We will look at allocating funds per district, but we have to go by, of course, the federal guidelines. So we will absolutely accommodate your request to the extent that we can. So I hear you, because you and Commissioner Barboa, not all your constituents are, Bernalillo County. So we will always do the right thing and make sure that we treat all districts equally, like I say, but we just have to follow those guidelines. So I'll be in touch and I'll let you know as we move forward. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
And County Manager, can I ask, do you know, or maybe Mei Ling, how that is worded in the guidelines? Is it specifically earmarked for unincorporated Bernalillo County, or do we have the ability to make some changes on that?
It's the way the language is stated is everything outside the city of Albuquerque. So like Village of Tijeras is incorporated, but the residents in the village would qualify, just like in Los Ranchos. So you have incorporated areas in the county, but are outside the city of Albuquerque.
Okay. So are you saying that we can adjust the language, or that it is very specifically stated that it needs to be outside the city of Albuquerque?
It's very specifically stated, which is why the city got their own allocation.
Okay. And so if we don't accept this as written, if we vote against it, then we just lose the money entirely because we're bound by that federal wording on that?
Madam Chairwoman, yes. Now, what I'm thinking Commissioner O'Malley is asking is, she has high need in her specific areas and that of Commissioner Barboa. I mean, there's high need all over the county. So what we're looking into is if we can redesignate funds for high need areas. And so we're in the midst of researching that. I don't know what the result of that is at this time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Commissioner Barboa, I know you've had your hand up a while. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ms. Armijo. I just want to reiterate, right? I think what we can, and thank you for trying to figure it out. I think as we all know, like COVID did not discriminate and impacted people of all different backgrounds and economic backgrounds. And for my district, we probably have some of the most intense rental needs. And so I appreciate any exploring into how you can make room for some of our real high rental needs. I appreciate so much that Treasurer Burst is also looking at the mortgage assistance opportunities. But I think as far as rental needs, our whole county was impacted. And thank you for just exploring that further, how we can redesignate or whatever you're able to do.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Benson.
I have a question, and maybe Mei Ling, you can answer this. The language, I guess I don't understand why Bernalillo County receives so much compared to the city if it's only designated for the unincorporated. And I would be concerned too. I think every resident in Albuquerque is a resident of Bernalillo County. I think it's one of those unintended consequences where, the federal government didn't really think out what the unintended consequences would have been.
Right. I think that if I were king for a day, I would have just given the money to the county and let us just allocate it for the whole county. But unfortunately, the language doesn't say that. But Madam Chair, Commissioner Benson, I just, for a point of clarification, just know that city residents can apply. There is an application process open now for high need or any need that if they can show that they were impacted by COVID, can apply now and receive rental help. The county runs its program separately from the city. And as you all aware, we're very detailed in economic development as far as getting the funds out and getting it out quickly, but getting it out correctly. And so we trust me, I've no desire to hold on to this money any longer than I have, and so we're doing our very best. And I understand that we still just to make another point, this second round that we're receiving more than the city, because according to the way the feds calculated it, we have higher need. That higher need is identified in the unincorporated. This isn't my research. This is coming from the feds. This is what the feds are telling us. And so we're to take those funds and disperse it to the higher need areas, which according to the feds is in the unincorporated area. So we're just trying to get some clarification on the definition of higher need. Can we reallocate those funds to accommodate the request of the commissioners? We understand that and we know because we're dealing with these applications, we understand what these individuals are going through, and it's sad. It's really some hard times are out there. And so we're doing our very best to understand the needs of the residents and what the commission wants to do, and we're hoping to find a solution. At this time, I don't see it right now based on the way the language is laid out. But we'll have some further communications with the feds, and hopefully we'll find some kind of solution that satisfies everybody.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Shirley, did you want to say something about this?
So, Madam Chair, I was just going to add to what Maylene was saying. As with all of the grants that we've received, even CARES, because of our population, what they do is they carve out the city of Albuquerque, which is the incorporated area, and allocate those funds to the city of Albuquerque. And then the unincorporated area, the remainder comes to Bernalillo County for administration. So that's how CARES was done. That is also how the ERA 1 and 2 were done. And like Maylene said, when you look at the base allocation, the city of Albuquerque actually received almost double what we received, if not more. It's the high need that they just recently identified, and not every county or city throughout the United States received that high need allocation. It was based on HUD data and census data. So like Maylene said, we just received the information last week. Not all the guidance is out, so we're still trying to evaluate that. But primarily it is for the unincorporated areas of Bernalillo County. And it wasn't our decision to exclude anybody. It's just applying the rules that go along with the guidance from the U.S. Department of Treasury.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Casada has his hand up, and
Oh,
then I'll
okay.
go to you.
Fine.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, I understand everybody's concern. I also have a concern in my district about the immigrant community and how they don't qualify. And so if we're going to dig deep and look at, trying to figure out how we get money to the people in need that are within the city limits, I also have to advocate for the immigrant community who, how we have as commissioners carved out money to help them through our own budget. And I would really appreciate if we could ask that same question based on if this data was collected through the census. And that's how they determined where that money goes, because it would be kind of disheartening that they look at it through the census and see all my undocumented residents in the South Valley, but yet the money comes down, but yet through the mechanism, they don't qualify for the money. And I have a huge concern about that. Or maybe it's because I have a high volume of immigrant community, and maybe we have to figure out how to get them some kind of assistance through this relief package. So I just want to make everybody aware that we cannot, and I'm sure Commissioner Barboa has a great amount of undocumented also in her district too, that she also has to figure out how to represent. So I just wanted to throw another wrench in the wheel. I hate to have to do that, but that's my job. But you know, I wish we don't, I'm just asking not to forget that part of the community.
Okay, thank
I
you,
would-
Commissioner O'Malley.
Thank you. So Shirley,
Wait, I'm
we
sorry.
received-
Mei-Ling, did
Go
you
ahead.
want to, I don't know who started to speak up. Did you start to?
Well, I was going to just
Yes.
respond to Commissioner Casada in that we are assisting the immigrant community because the money goes to the landlord, which is typically a documented individual. And so we don't require social security numbers in our application. So we, I mean, immigrants can apply to this program. It's the landlords that we collect the social or the TIN information, because they're the ones receiving the money. But for the benefit of the renter.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Commissioner O'Malley, please go ahead.
Well, I know we're going to be talking about the larger allocation in a little while, but I think we need to sort of be clear on that as well, because the city have received a certain amount of an allocation, and we all have projects in our district that we want to move forward. So it'd be good to know what the qualifiers are for the larger amount of money. I didn't know that this was a qualifier for Bernalillo County, because Bernalillo County, as we know, encompasses the city of Albuquerque is the largest population in Bernalillo County. So I didn't realize that was a requirement. If it is, it is. I mean, I wished I'd known about it a little earlier, because I asked that question earlier, but then, we could focus on highest needs. It's just that my concern is this is one-time money. It's coming down, and we all want the people we represent to benefit. And, sometimes areas look, people maybe don't look as they're struggling, but they're helping their families. And a lot of people struggle during this time. A lot of folks in the middle income folks and other folks, trying to create a safety net for their families and making sure that they were there for their families. So everybody was going through some tough times. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. So Mei-Ling, I want to ask you if we vote on this, are we voting to basically just accept that $10 million and budget that in, and then can we kind of look at the finer points? If we approve this now, can we look at kind of the finer points of how that gets distributed?
Madam Chair, I'm going to say yes, but I say it very cautiously, because the feds are very definitive in how they want us to do it. When we created the program for ERA1, we used the Fed guidelines to develop that program. And if there was something we were confused on, we went back to the feds and asked for point of clarification, and they gave it to us. I don't see that they're giving us the flexibility in what we may or may not want to do. However, in the little research that we did get today, there was language that kind of opened it up a little bit, but we don't know. And I'm not comfortable saying yes without getting definitive answers from the feds. And I don't want to go on record saying that we can do something when in the past we haven't been able to.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Julie, did you want to say something? I couldn't tell if that was a finger up.
It was, Madam Chair.
Okay.
So the answer is we will check back with the feds. So
Okay.
and that's
Okay.
exactly what we'll do. We'll get some clarification.
Okay.
And we will get back with you, of course.
Okay. Okay. So at this point, the vote is either to accept that $10 million or not. And then if this passes, then we'll go back and it sounds like even with the federal government, they seem to be changing kind of what you're hearing. So there could be something new that comes out. So is that accurate, that what we're voting on is just whether or not to accept this 10 million at this point?
Madam Chair, that's correct.
Okay. Commissioner Casada, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I hate to keep chiming in, but I think it's important to understand that that if the roles were reversed, if the city of Albuquerque would have gotten a lot more money than Bernalillo County, we need to ask ourselves, would they go into my district and help me in the unincorporated area? I'm just going to tell you that I've had a hard time navigating that partnership historically. Not that it doesn't happen, because it does, and I'm not going to publicly say that that doesn't happen. But when it comes to that kind of funding, it's really hard to say, would they do the exact same thing for us? Our job is to represent all people. So I'm not saying one way or the other. I still want to pursue that. I don't want to say that we wouldn't do it or we would do it. I think we would anyway. But we have to follow the federal guidelines, and I would not like to lose out on this money based on an assumption that they would do it for us or we would do it for them, because we want to do it for them. But if we can't, we have to do it for the unincorporated areas of Bernalillo County.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Benson.
Yes, Madam Chair. I'm fully in support of receiving it, because even if we're handcuffed with how we use it, it's better than nothing. However, I just want to voice my concern, and I'm grateful to Maylene and County Manager for researching this more. Hopefully there's some caveat with high need that we can direct these funds to our folks. And I think Commissioner Quezada makes a great point. But I also really want to emphasize the second point is that we do, and reiterate it, is that we do represent all of our constituents, and they voted for us, even though they live in the city districts and they have the needs. So I'm hopeful that we can find a use, that we can direct some of these funds inside the city limits for the folks that need it.
Thanks. Commissioner Barboa.
And thank you, Madam Chair. And I'm thankful for this just conversation today. I think just to, check mark what Commissioner Benson said, and I actually think Commissioner Quesada was the first commissioner I ever heard say, like, we are the Bernalillo County, and everybody that lives in Albuquerque is Bernalillo County, and maybe not the other way. And I would probably take the guess that City Council may probably not worry about our unincorporated areas, but we are worrying about all of our residents. And so just thank you, just reiterating those, and thanks for trying to work it out. And no, I don't want to lose the funds in the name of this, but yes, as much as we can explore, I appreciate it. Thank you, Madam Chair. And Maylene.
Thanks. Thank you. Shirley, go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to let you guys know the city actually received $42 million in emergency rental assistance funds, 24 million in the first round and 18 million in the second round. Bernalillo County received 5 million in the first round, 3 million in the second round, for a total of 8, plus an additional 6 million for the high need. So it's 14 million compared to 42. And I recognize that Albuquerque has a larger population, thus the larger allocation. So I was just putting numbers out there, not trying to say one is better than another, but just putting the numbers out there for clarity.
Thank you. I appreciate you putting those numbers out there. That was really interesting. And I'm sure, yeah, $42 million. And you're right. I think we all have, all or part of our districts are in Albuquerque. So that's great to hear that there is help for our constituents in a lot, a good chunk of help in Albuquerque. So thank you. Thank you, Shirley. And so I see no other hands raised. So I will just go, Commissioner Benson, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. One last question. And with that information from Ms. Reagan, if one of our constituents reaches out for help, Maylene, to you all, but they live in the incorporated area, do you direct them to the right source? I assume the answer is yes. And,
Yes.
and can we direct them? Are there folks that we can direct them to, or should we just direct them to you?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Benson, please direct them to us, because what will happen is even if they do go through that application process, our staff is still assisting them with that as well. So we're a full service, even for the city, we're a full service because they are county residents still, right? So, and Marcos, Swen, and Sulema spend a lot of time helping either city applicants or county applicants daily. So please send them to us. They'll be treated much better.
Thank you for that question, Commissioner Benson, and thank you, Mei-Ling and Marcos. I know that it is true that your team just bends over backwards to help people, and you always have. I know since the beginning of the pandemic, especially, I have seen you work just, I want to say tirelessly, but I bet you get tired. But you're very dedicated and committed, and I appreciate that so much. So on that note, I will move to approve item 9A, 1 and 2. Is there a second? Commissioner Casada, thank you. All in favor, raise your hand. And Madam Clerk?
Commissioner
Call the roll.
Barboa,
Aye.
Commissioner Benson,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley,
Aye.
Vice Chair Casada,
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye.
There you go.
Thank you. That passes unanimously. And now moving on, we are deferring item 9B to the June 15th meeting. So we'll move on to 9C, the American Rescue Plan Act funding. And Shirley Reagan, our numbers person, will present. Take it away, Shirley.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Shirley Reagan, Deputy County Manager of Finance. On March 11th, 2021, President Biden signed the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 into law. This $1.9 trillion, $1.9 trillion, that's right, dollar package is intended to combat the COVID-19 pandemic, including public health and economic impacts. The U.S. Department of Treasury has set up the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund that will provide $350 billion in federal fiscal recovery aid for states and local governments based on population. Counties with a population of at least 50,000 would receive a direct federal allocation. Bernalillo County was identified as an eligible local government unit, and we received allocation of $131.9 million. Of that $131.9 million, the U.S. Department of Treasury divided the distribution into two tranches. One we received on the first half, which was $65.9 million, we received on May 19th. The second half we will receive in May of 2022. So I stand before you today with a motion to approve a financial resolution to accept and budget the funds, and also a financial resolution to carry forward the funds so that they'll be available July 1, as opposed to September when we normally carry forward balances, and also authorize the county manager and staff to commence analysis of water, sewer, and broadband projects for consideration of funding under ARPA. I stand for any questions.
Thank you. Well, I'm all for accepting almost $66 million. Are there any questions or comments? Commissioner Benson. Oh, Benson just put his hand up.
After him. Fine.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Madam Chair. I did have a question. This is a huge windfall for our county, and just wanting to be prudent with the opportunity that we've been faced with. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity, and so I know every district has their needs. One thing I want to know is what's the time frame in terms of allocating these funds to the different projects in the different districts? Because I just want to make sure that I'm representing my district well in our needs, and I'm sure all the other commissioners want to represent themselves or their constituents as well. So what's the time frame in terms of the approval of the projects?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Benson, the time frame for the funds is March 1, 2021 through December 31 of 2024. We have to have them obligated or spent by then. So what we're doing right now is the most definitive or well-defined piece of the eligible projects or expenditures was water, sewer, broadband. So that was why we were coming to say, can we take a look at those projects to see how they might fit into this funding? And then from there, we'll be able to develop a timeline based on a project expansion or building for those funds. The U.S. Department of Treasury has asked that we provide a spending plan to them by August of how we're going to use the funds. So we planned on spending the time evaluating all of that and coming back to you all for your approval of how we might use the funds as we move forward. The guidance is still coming in. We attend meetings daily, hourly. Sometimes they just pop up and you just have to go attend them. There's lots of folks analyzing. We have our federal lobbyists. We have National Association of Counties. We have the Government Financial Officers Association. Everybody's doing analysis of trying to figure out what the interim final rule really means in those 4 categories. And the big emphasis, they really want to focus on the people that were hit the hardest, the lowest income. So even in the broadband infrastructure, they're looking at bringing the Wi-Fi capability up to a certain level, and they want you to focus on those areas that had low broadband or no access to broadband. So that's one of the emphases that we're looking at. So we're trying to evaluate all of that, and we'll bring forth information to you in August. And based on the meetings we had with each of you, we are looking at projects across Bernalillo County, all 5 districts that would meet that criteria. We pulled projects from our capital improvement plan that were lacking funding. So maybe they might have had some federal funds, some capital outlay dollars, and possibly some GEO bond dollars, but yet there was a piece lacking. We looked at that. We also are working with economic development to identify potential new types of projects that might fall under that, that umbrella as well. But like you said, these are one-time funds. There's the biggest area that they allocated was the water, sewer, broadband in terms of a category. We can calculate our lost revenue, and then you can use that for general government operations, depending on what that is. They gave us a very specific, very complicated formula to use, which we're working through that to get that validated. And then there's the normal activity like they had in CARES in terms of that for public safety and public health workers and expenditures in those sorts of categories. They also this time opened up more to like affordable housing and things like that. So we're looking at all of those things and seeing to make some determinations and suggestions as to how that funding might be used that would be beneficial to Bernalillo County, and also partner with our neighbors on the funds. Because one thing they said with the ARPA funds is that if the city has ARPA funds, we have ARPA funds, and we decide to go together on a project, they can be combined. Where in CARES, for example, they didn't allow that. If you got a small business grant from the city, you were not eligible to get a small business grant from the county. But however, they recognize in this that the projects, especially infrastructure, you know, are large ticket items. So there's slightly different rules, some similar rules, in some cases more restrictive. They're looking at the qualified census tracts. So there's a lot of things that we have to factor in that we didn't have to factor in, say, with CARES. So as always, be cautious and thorough.
Thank you, Ms. Reagan. When you say that they're wanting us to use the funds, you know, in the areas of greatest need, are they saying in the given community or compared to the rest of the country? Because if it's compared to the rest of the country, I think the whole county of Bernalillo would probably fit in that at some degree. But if you're comparing, you know, certain neighborhoods to others just within Bernalillo, then I could see much more of a ranking method.
Yeah, just within Bernalillo County.
Okay.
Matter of fact, we're working with our GIS folks to overlay that the quality census tract on top of the GIS map for Bernalillo County, so we can make sure we understand what those restrictions are on certain things.
Okay, thank you.
But it's everything within Bernalillo County.
Thanks. Commissioner O'Malley?
Yeah, I just wanted a clarification on that, that we are talking about the entire county and its eligibility for this funding. And then also, I realized that they have priorities. They prioritized, I guess, they're saying you should prioritize certain projects. And then beyond that, they're also open to other projects as well, other infrastructure projects. It's a little confusing, to be honest with you, because it sounds to me like the rules kind of change a little bit, or the requirements change a little bit. It seems that way. But I just, the more we know, of course, the more we can just tie down, that would be helpful, so that we know what's available. That's where I guess it gets a little confusing.
Yes, Commissioner O'Malley, I understand that, and I agree. The emphasis on this is recovery moving forward, where CARES, say, for example, was mitigation. So the rules are a little bit different. And it's not just for all projects, it's certain types. And then within certain categories, they allow, like they said, building affordable housing based on their criteria that they set. And you're right, that's why we want to sit down and get it all laid out so that we can appropriately address and apply it, so that we don't end up having the money taken away from us when they come in and audit or review.
Well, one of the things that's really good about it is that we're allowed time, much more time than was given to the CARES Act funding. Of course, they gave us like a year, and then they said, okay, you have more time. But this really helps because many of these projects take a long time to complete. So I'm glad to see that at least they've added, given the opportunity for us to work on these projects for, it's a multi-year. I think you said, was it December 2024 that things had to be encumbered, or money project had to start? Yeah, okay.
Correct. And then if they're encumbered, you have in certain cases, and that's how they specify it, certain cases, if it's encumbered by December 31 of 2024, you can then expend it up through 2026, December 31 of 2026. So that was why we didn't want to wait, because we recognize a lot of work has to go into project analysis, and then we have the normal path with procurement and getting the project plan and all of that. So we wanted to really take some time before we even just start spending money and not knowing what we're doing, but get a little bit of focus so that we can make the best use of the funds and have the largest impact on all of the districts within the county.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thanks. County Manager Julie.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just remember that all these projects, each project is subject to your approval. So we will not move forward on any project until it is approved by the commission. So just know that. I want you all to feel confident in the way that we're spending the money. We're being very transparent, and we're getting a lot of outside entities that are asking as well, and we're compiling a list, and we'll be presenting that to you. So just know that nothing will go forward without your approval. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thanks for that, Julie. Any other questions or concerns? Would anybody like to make a motion to approve this item? Thank you, Commissioner Benson. Is there a second? I'll second. All in favor, wave your hand. And Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Barboa,
Aye.
Commissioner Benson,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley,
Aye.
Vice Chair Casada,
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye. Thank you very much. That passes unanimously. Next item, 2021 open burning ban, and Chief Perez will present. Go ahead, Chief. Oh, Julianne, I see there's an item here, conduct a public hearing to determine if the extreme or severe drought conditions continue to exist within the unincorporated areas of Bernalillo County. How many do we have signed up to speak, Julianne?
So we did not receive any written comments on this item, nor did anybody sign up to provide live comments.
Okay. And I think that's because it's obvious that we are in very extreme drought conditions. So Chief Perez, would you like to present this, please?
Yes, Madam Chair, Commissioners, thank you for letting me speak this evening. You hit it spot on, Madam Chair. We are seeing record dryness, particularly in the East Mountains, which has prompted us to take some serious action by putting forth a burn ban. We always go through and really try to evaluate the situation because we don't want to limit what people are allowed to do at any given time during the summer. We want them to be able to enjoy it, but we felt the need to put this in place now in order to help folks to enjoy it safely and to protect the residents specifically in the East Mountains. So we have put this burn ban in place. We elected to put it in for 45 days, which will cover what we have historically, based off of our data, found to be the most dangerous time for wildland or open type fires. And so this will carry us through July, and we will reevaluate in hopes and prayer that we get a good monsoon season and we're able to lift this and do not have to carry it on. But we are enacting this again due completely to the dryness that we're experiencing.
Okay. And so I see that in this item, there's two parts to it. Declare that an extreme or severe drought condition exists, and which I think that we can all agree to that. There's a lot of evidence to show that that's true. And then approve an administrative resolution banning the use of open fires, campfires, and smoking in the unincorporated outdoor areas of Bernalillo County. And I recall last year, we did get some questions about what this means, about what people can do on their own property or in their homes. Can they smoke in their home? So can you just clarify a little the intent of this resolution, Chief?
So the intent is to advise folks of the behaviors that we would like to see them practice, both in their homes and in the public. The only difference is in the public or in the parks and places such as that the county has some jurisdiction, we can actually regulate how they are going about, whether it's smoking or cooking, campfires, those kind of things. I can't tell you what you can and cannot do in your own home. All we can do is request that you adhere to the ban and the data that supports why we're putting it in place. So I hope that clarifies it a little bit.
Thank you. Commissioner Casada.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Chief. Chief, I do have a question. You know, we do go camping from time to time. And I want to ask, is like the little propane fire pit is what we use. It's run by propane. It has lava rocks in it. It doesn't shoot embers or anything up into the air. And it's an open space like that. So if somebody was outside and they had a propane fire pit, would that be permissible, or you can't have no fire whatsoever?
So Madam Chair, Commissioner Casada, it all really is specific to the area. with which you're enjoying the outdoors. So if it's the Cibola Forest or any other area, they each have their own level of restriction. For us, we're asking that none of that be utilized. So it's no open flame, whether it doesn't matter what kind of open flame. We're banning all open flame in the open space that Bernalillo County controls and manages.
So let me ask you this. We also have a black stone that we cook on that is run by propane. Are we allowed to cook food outside our camper or?
So again, it would determine which campground you're going to and which jurisdiction
I'm just asking about Bernalillo County.
For Bernalillo County. Again, if you're talking about a propane and actual grill, you could do that. A barbecue grill, you could do that as long as it's contained. You said it was a Blackstone, so that wouldn't be an issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Just, for people who are watching, for people who
You
camp,
bet.
that way they kind of know what they can do, because usually it's pretty uniform. And for all of us who sit on the Water Utility Authority, we got the drought report the other day, and we know that we're not the only county that's going to be dealing with this. So
Correct.
pretty sure it should be uniform across the
Yeah.
state of New Mexico. So thank you, Chief.
Thanks.
Bet.
Madam Chair,
Uh-huh.
if I could just follow up on some of those questions.
Sure, go ahead.
So if we're talking about, as you said, Chief, the areas, the national forests, or those areas, they have their own rules. That's, not the jurisdiction. So if, because, I was also trying to get a little more into the weeds on this as well, because my daughter has a camping trailer and they like to go camping, and actually we'll be going in a couple of weeks. And so, of course, you have these outdoor stoves that you use, and because it makes sense to cook outdoors. So it's good. I'm glad that Commissioner Quesada brought up those questions. So that helped to clarify what you can and cannot do. Appreciate that.
Madam Chair, Commissioner O'Malley, Commissioner Quesada, we will send out some more information and guidance out of the Fire Marshal's office once this is passed. We didn't want to do it ahead of time, but assuming that you all agree to pass this, we will send out some communication that will go out via our social media, and then the fire department's PIO group will actually do some press coverage as well, just to reiterate what you can and can't do, because that always seems to be the biggest area of confusion when it comes to any kind of burn ban.
Thank you so much, Chief.
You bet.
Are there any other questions? Or are we all going to wait for the chief's press release? Okay, well, I will just go ahead and move to approve this item. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner O'Malley, I think, got the first second in. All in favor, raise your hand, and thank you. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Barboa,
Aye.
Commissioner Benson,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley,
Aye.
Vice Chair Quesada,
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye.
All righty.
Passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to item 9E, disposition of property located at 501 to Harris Northwest. Deanna Miglio, please present.
Thank you. Madam Chair, Commissioners, my name is Deanna Miglio. I'm the real estate manager for Bernalillo County. And before you tonight, I have the disposition of property located at 501 to Harris Northwest. I am requesting the commission, the board, approve the disposition of the property at 501 to Harris Avenue and recommend approval to the State Board of Finance. In addition, I am also requesting authorization for the county manager to execute the real estate purchase and sale agreement and any amendments that are made to it by the State Board of Finance. The buyer is Town Site QO21 LLC. We had an appraisal on the property and it came in at $1,350,000. And with that, I stand for questions.
Thank you. Any questions?
I just have a quick question, Madam Chair. When was the appraisal done, Deanna?
It was, Madam Chair, Commissioners, it was done last month, I believe, was the.
Okay, so that's a pretty current. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions? Is there a motion to approve? Oh, Deanna, did you have?
I'm sorry, I do
something you
have
wanted to add?
one more. Do we need an FR number first before it is approved?
I've got FR 2021-61.
Thank you.
Did I get that right, Madam Clerk?
Good. Good
Right.
job.
Okay. Would somebody like to move this item for approval? Commissioner Casada, is there a second?
Second,
Commissioner O'Malley, thank you. All in favor, wave your hand and let's have Madam Clerk call
Commissioner
that roll.
Barboa,
Aye.
Commissioner Benson,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley,
aye.
Vice Chair Casada,
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye. So that
done.
passed. Thank you. That passes unanimously. Moving on to the next item, which Deanna Miglio will also present regarding the disposition of Bernalillo County's 1/2 interest in One Civic Plaza Northwest.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. This item is the Bernalillo County's 1/2 interest in One Civic Plaza. That building is owned half by the city of Albuquerque and half by Bernalillo County. Because it's government to government, an appraisal is not required. However, in negotiations, both the city and county jointly paid and had an appraisal conducted. The appraisal came in at $11,100,000. So the 1/2, it would be $5,550,000. The city of Albuquerque is the buyer. They do wish to continue. They're locating there and I'm not sure if they're going to completely locate there, but they do want that space. So we've negotiated that price with them. And this agreement also has to go for final approval to the New Mexico State Board of Finance. And I am also requesting the county manager to approve the real estate purchase and sale agreement, along with any changes made by the State Board of Finance. And with that, I stand for questions.
Okay, any questions? I am seeing none. So I will move to approve this item, including financial resolution FR 2021-62. And Commissioner Casada is waving. Do you have a question or you're seconding?
I'm seconding and saying bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so all in favor of disposing of Bernalillo County's 1/2 interest in One Civic Plaza Northwest, please wave your hand. Thank you. And Madam Clerk, please call the roll. And unmute yourself so we can hear it loud and clear.
Busy waving. Commissioner Barboa,
Aye.
Commissioner Benson,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley,
Aye.
Vice Chair Casada,
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye. Thank you
right,
very
so
much.
long.
That passes unanimously, and that brings us even one step closer to our new location at Alvarado Square. So thank you. And now, we're on to approvals. Human Resources, AFSCME Council 18 Local 2499 MDC Contract 2021-2023. Bernadette Perez to present.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Human Resources is recommending your approval of the negotiated changes to the collective bargaining agreement for AFSCME Council 18 Local 2499. Negotiations commenced on February 17th, 2020, and reached tentative agreement on May 1st, 2021. The union ratified the contract on May 6th of 2021. The proposed contract is for a 2-year period, which would be in effect after commission approval and ending on June 30 of 2023. And the county thanks the management and union negotiation team members of AFSCME Council 18 Local 2499 for their hard work in reaching this agreement. I don't know if MDC Chief Richardson is on, but I do see that Union President Joseph Truhecki is here in attendance, and in the event that they have anything to add to the presentation. If not, I stand for any questions.
Okay, Mr. Truhecki, do you have anything you want to add, or I see you're on camera. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson and County Commissioners. You know, it was a year ago when we started this negotiations, and we went through COVID, and it was a very trying negotiations as far as that's concerned. But a year later, we were able to come together and reach an agreement that both parties could live with. And you know, we set out starting with three goals in mind, at least on our side. One was to reduce the overtime, improve the morale, and obviously get us at a higher competitive rate as far as salary goes. And I believe we made strides to achieving all three of those. And the Local 2499 looks forward to working with the county and the chief to work and even improving those more in the future. And we thank you and urge you to accept this contract.
Thank you. Commissioner Casada.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, thank you. Ask me, you know, my neighbors here are all work at MDC. They're all guards. So I talk to them on an everyday basis, pretty much, you know. They're hardworking guys. You know, they're very dedicated to MDC, Bernalillo County. But, you know, we want to be competitive. We want to make sure that they have quality of life. I think one thing that a lot of us don't seem to understand when it comes to MDC is that, you know, it's a hard job to be a police officer and a firefighter, but it's harder to live with these guys every day, all day. And it's just tough on everybody, even you know, our citizens that are in MDC. They don't have an easy life either. And so I appreciate, you know, us moving forward, always supporting our MDC and our security and our officers at MDC. And you know, I'm glad that we're always moving forward. And that you know, we continue to do that, and we continue to keep looking at how do we improve, how do we stay competitive, and how do we make sure that people have a higher quality of life here in New Mexico. And so with that, Madam Chair, I'd like to move for approval.
Okay, thank you. I know County Manager Julie would like to add something. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to thank you, Officer Truhecki. I think that you've been great to work with. I think that the relationship between management and the union has improved significantly. Thank you for your cooperation, the professionalism. It's been a give and take all along, and it's been really, really good. And I also want to say thank you to all the corrections officers and management for making a difference. They've actually, you know, you read in the paper about things, but the thing that I want to highlight is how many lives that they've actually saved. They have saved a lot of lives at the FDC and made a huge, huge difference. And I just want to thank them for that and all the sacrifices they make and their families have made. So thank you very much. Please extend our gratitude, Officer Truhecki.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Julie. Commissioner Barboa.
Thank you. I'd like to be on record for seconding this. And I just want to also recognize Mr. Truhecki and right, that I'm often known as somebody who advocates for prisoners' rights, and growing up with folks that are also corrections officers, and knowing that when we talk about the mental health of our communities, when we talk about but they are Bernalillo County employees, and how we keep some of our folks that put themselves on the line every day in the best health and not doing too much overtime so they're burnt out. And hopefully we can increase recruitment and retain some of those folks when we start showing that we actually value the hard work that they do every day. So I hope that this has been a great outcome. I definitely support it. And I just want to extend my appreciation for those who put in the hard work every day and really take care of some of the most crazy circumstances that they volunteer to put themselves through. Of course, they get paid. I would say not enough. Hopefully this is a great bump for them. And I just want to appreciate them value and thank you, Mr. Trujillo, for your advocacy for our officers. And I'd like to second this, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Consider it seconded by you. Commissioner Benson, I see you're next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Officer Trujillo, I just want to come into agreement with these comments and personally just thank the staff on my behalf. You all aren't typically in the news unless something goes wrong, and that's a huge burden to bear, as well as the silence that you receive when nothing goes wrong. And we need you. We need you all very, very badly, and we need more of you, and we need you all to feel appreciated, and just know that you are appreciated. And so thank you for being here tonight so that we could speak to you directly.
Thank you. Shirley, you're next. Shirley.
Yes, I'm on mute. Officer Trujillo, I just wanted to say thank you for your honesty. And I was there in the very beginning through the negotiations. We did one of the first ones right after we had to wear our mask and we weren't even quite sure what we needed to do. We met in the Union Hall, and I just appreciate his honesty. He's always straightforward and wanting to do the right thing for the right reason. So I do appreciate that and the opportunity to work with you and to continue to work with you in the future, and all that you do up at MDC. It matters. Just wanted to let you know that.
And County Manager Julie, your hand is up. I don't know if it's up again or, okay. Okay, thank you. And yeah, I agree with the comments here. Thank you. Thank you everybody for your work. Thank you, Mr. Trujillo, for all of your work, and send my best to our employees at MDC. I realize what a difficult job that is. So thank you very much. And we do have Commissioner Casado moved to approve, Commissioner Barboa seconded. And so all in favor of approval, please wave your hand. And Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Barboa.
Aye.
Commissioner Benson.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley.
Aye.
Vice Chair Casado.
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye.
So called.
Thank you very much. Moving on to 10B, we've got Deanna Miglio talking about One Civic Plaza Northwest Joint Powers Agreement Amendment. Deanna, take it away.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, Commissioners, this item is related actually to the previous item of selling the county's 1/2 interest in One Civic. We currently have a joint powers agreement with the city of Albuquerque, and we needed to make a small amendment to that joint powers agreement that allows us to negotiate directly with the city rather than seek out a third-party purchaser of our 1/2 interest. This, as you may be aware, the city occupies almost 75% of One Civic. And so it just, they do want our half. And so we had to make that change to the JPA in order to allow us to sell directly to the city. So we need to get board approval and city council approval, I believe. And then this also will have to go through the State Board of Finance for their final approval. So with that, I stand for questions.
Okay, thanks. Are there any questions about that? I don't see any questions. Thank you so much. I know that I'm sure you've worked really hard on going through all the paperwork around this. And if you say that you need to us to approve this amendment, I am all for that. So I will move to approve the amendment to the City of Albuquerque, County of Bernalillo Joint Powers Agreement in this regard. Is there a second? Commissioner Barboa, thank you. And so all in favor, raise your hand, and Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Barboa,
Aye.
Commissioner Benson,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley,
Aye.
Commissioner Casada,
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye, aye, aye. So, thank you very much. And Lisa Cedillo White has her hand up for the first time this evening, getting it right in under the wire. Go ahead, Lisa.
Yes. Hi, thank you, Madam Chair and members of the commission. I just wanted to say thank you so much for the the votes on the disposition of One Civic. I do want to say what I don't think was discussed was our closing date is scheduled for August 31st. So on August 31st, we have a traditional closing with the City of Albuquerque, and they will come with their $5.5 million. So as of September 1st, One Civic will no longer be owned by Bernalillo County. So thank you for your support.
Okay, good to know. Thank you. And so next item, discussion. Anybody have anything to discuss? No. So I will announce the next meeting, Tuesday, June 15, 2021. We'll have the zoning meeting at 3 p.m. That'll be a Zoom meeting, and that'll be followed at 5 p.m. on Zoom with our administrative meeting. So I will see you all back here on June 15th, if not before. And if there's no other business, this meeting is adjourned. I don't have a gavel tonight, so I'm just going to give you a big namaste. Take care. Have a good night. Take care, everybody.
Bless you.
Thank you.